So apparently Gene Kim thinks there's not going to be any churches in 2020? Okay, let's see what he has to say. Alrighty, thank you guys for tuning in, and if you haven't already, please feel free to hit the like and subscribe button if you end up enjoying the video. If you want to see videos as soon as they come out, then the notification bell is probably the best thing to hit. And if you'd like to support my content financially, there will be a link to Patreon both in the description below and on the card at the end of the show. You get access to episodes early, and if you're a $20 or higher patron, you get a slide with a custom avatar at the end as well. And with that shameless self-promotion out of the way, let's move right into the fan art section. First, we have a buffer Suris and I Could Ever Hope to Be by Maximum Rocketansky, the Mega Man boss Cutman-styled Suris by MJ Sketchy, and then me telling no bullshit, why would you call yourself no bullshit when everything you say is bullshit by Pun Bun for Fun. As always, thank you guys for your fan art submissions, and let's get right into Gene Kim. And this time it's not a duplicate episode.
This Bill 99, where they forbid conversion therapy, they called it. I think that's the right term. So in other words, this is forbidden, where you try to preach against homosexuality.
I don't think that's actually what Bill 99 is talking about. Let's go ahead and look at Bill 99 real quick. So it seems here Bill 99 was submitted September 26, 2019. This measure would call upon all Californians to embrace the individual and social benefits of family and community acceptance, upon religious leaders to counsel on LGBTQ matters from a place of love, compassion, and knowledge of the psychological and other harms of conversion therapy, and upon the people of California and the institutions of California with great moral influence to model equitable treatment of all the people in the state. I'm not going to read the entire bill out, but I will be linking it down below for you guys to read if you want. But the bill begins by saying that they found that being LGBTQ is not some sort of disease, disorder, illness, deficiency, or shortcoming. As a result, conversion therapies are largely useless because they're actually dealing with something that's a natural variation in sexual orientation and gender identity. And the bill recommends responsive services that foster self-acceptance and skills to cope with social stigma and discrimination, as opposed to, conversion therapy. The bill states that there are family, caregivers, and communities that attempt to promote conversion therapy when a person is known to be part of the LGBTQ spectrum, but that California law should recognize that performing conversion therapy on young people is ineffective, unethical, and harmful. The bill also recognizes that conversion therapy has been rejected as completely useless for mental health and medical reasons and for child welfare, and the continued utilization of conversion therapy helps contribute to the social stigma against an already marginalized set of people within the state. This is because conversion therapy and other options like that allow for families to think that there is an out for their children and lead to less social acceptance of their child. By allowing this particular procedure to continue, the bill attempts to recognize that you are adding to the stigma and therefore doing much more harm to a child who is already being discriminated against by their family. The bill also calls for religious leaders to counsel LGBTQ kids on matters from a place of love, compassion, and knowledge of the psychological and other harms of conversion therapy. Basically, don't tell kids that it's bad to be gay, teach them to love and accept who they are. It should be noted that as a resolution, Bill ACR 99 doesn't have any actual force of law behind it. It's meant to be a foundation for policymakers going forward. So you can stop doing stupid things like, making kids get electroshocks to try to shock the gay away. It should also be noted that the word therapy is being used incredibly fast and loose here. But okay, we've done a lot of going over the legislation and what it would entail. Let's see why Gene Kim is upset.
Toward a person. So, if this is so I'm not saying that this is referring to a public context where you're preaching on a pulpit. So it's probably more toward an individual licensed counseling session.
Okay, and if Gene Kim recognizes that this is for individual psychological counseling, then he shouldn't have to worry, because he can still preach to pray the gay away all the fuck he wants. If he wants to be a bigot, he has a right to do that. The bill is trying to urge medical professionals and psychological professionals with religious affiliation to stop trying to pray the fucking gay away. So far, there should be nothing objectionable here.
But I could be wrong about that too. But the point is that trying to get a person to get rid of homosexuality within this Bill 99, what's so scary is that Senate approved of this.
Wait, so you're not going to tell us what's actually scary about the bill. What you're going to tell us is that it's scary that Senate approved of it. What about the bill has you worried? Can we talk about the actual fucking bill? It's not that long. I read the damn thing. I've got it linked in my description. What I need from you, Gene, is to explain the fucking bill to me so I can see if you've got it right and if your panic actually has any merit.
Now here's the thing, is that the reason why this is so scary is that basically all you need is two things. Despite of the land of the free and the home of the brave, it does not work when you do this power play.
Okay, again, you're not talking about the bill yet, but what about the child's ability to freely be gay? Let's ignore for the moment that there's actually no harm to being gay. There's no harm to being trans. There's no harm to being queer. Let's ignore all that for a second. In a land of the free, my right to punch you stops very short of your nose. Wouldn't that then mean that your right to influence a child not to be gay stops somewhere around that child's ears? Again, your freedom of speech isn't being infringed upon because you're allowed to tell the child whatever the fuck you want, but the ability to influence from a counselor who is trying to give medical advice, which is what this bill is talking about, which you noted, isn't the same thing. That stops it from being a freedom of speech issue and starts dealing with the ideas of medical harm. And conversion therapy does in fact do psychological harm, which could require medical intervention later on in life. If that's what the bill is talking about, or at least that's what you think the bill is talking about, then why is it scary that Senate was able to get it approved? I need you to talk to me about the bill, Gene.
All you need is a Senate and a president, and then it's game over. Now, I thought that this would not happen with the Senate. You know, a president's one thing, I can think that's possible, especially if Hillary became president, and some of you have heard how she tried to filter out or censor sermons, I think at the state of Texas.
Instead of talking about the fucking bill, you started talking about Hillary. I guess you can't actually pull any substance from what the bill says, and you instead have to fearmonger in other ways. But what's this claim about Hillary trying to censor sermons? I tried looking up this claim, and the closest thing that comes up is something about the city of Houston trying to subpoena pastors' sermons. Nothing to do with Hillary Clinton, so unless you guys can tell me in the comments section what the hell he's talking about, I'm going to go ahead and assume that this is more fearmongering about Hillary. And trust me, if I could find something about that, then I would like to know, because I don't like her either.
So it was only by God's grace and mercy we didn't get Hillary Clinton. But anyway, the thing is that I didn't think that I'd see this day concerning the Senate. But you got to realize this, is that if Democrats can take control over the Senate as well as presidency, then it's pretty much shot.
But what is shot, Gene? You haven't actually said anything. You've offered nothing of substance so far. You've diverted away from the subject matter, which should be Bill 99, to talk about fucking Hillary Clinton. I'm trying to figure out what your point is, but you aren't giving me anything to work with.
So this is why this is very scary right here. So then they approved of this, so then the president will have to have the final say right here. Now, what this is that we're going to look at Daniel chapter 11.
We're going to look at Daniel chapter 11? Why don't we look at Bill ACR fucking 99? Why are we turning to the Bible instead of talking about the bill? The bill that you have behind you written on the board. Why the fuck is the bill number written on the board if you're not going to talk about the fucking bill? I have no idea what just happened there. Anyways, Gene, could you please get to the point?
Daniel chapter 11. Now you gotta understand this, is that when you vote in for president, like Obama for example, you notice that when they run for presidency, they're not going to say something like, I'm going to imprison Christians.
Well, of course they wouldn't, and Obama didn't do that. But I thought we were supposed to be talking about Daniel 11, and I thought we were supposed to be talking about Bill 99. Why are we suddenly talking about Obama?
No, then they're going to lose their vote, obviously. How you get a world deceived where you eventually persecute and imprison Christians is that you pretend you're a Christian yourself.
So, kind of like Trump.
And then you say, I personally received Jesus Christ as my Savior. Yeah, my foot, Obama. My foot.
The guy literally had decades of history in his church. The dude has memoirs. The dude has independent biographies, all of which state that he is a Christian. all of which where he reaffirms his Christianity. Now, he might not be your flavor of Christian, but he most certainly was one. There's some fucking conspiracy that he was apparently a Muslim, but two things. One, if he was, who cares? It would be just as bad for him to be a Christian as a Muslim. From the digging that I've been able to do, it seems like any thoughts that he was a Muslim just come from people needing to associate somebody they don't like with a faith they don't like. People don't like feeling that somebody from their tribe could possibly be someone they don't like. It's the same reason we make up tons of excuses for our family members being assholes. But if a random guy on the street does it, we're more than happy to call them out.
I don't believe you for a second. Amen. So you got to realize this. Bush said that too. A lot of presidents say that too. Now, I'm not saying that they have not done that. Only the Lord, only God knows between them and their heart what they really did.
But you literally just said 5 seconds ago that you don't believe it. And yet here, you now have to say that you have to suspend your belief on that because only the Lord would know. Not only are you scatterbrained as hell, but you're also incredibly inconsistent.
But you got to realize this, is that these kind of people who run for presidents will lie about being a Christian so that they can get your vote. And once they get your vote, then watch out when hell breaks loose.
Okay, so we do agree that politicians lie to get in office. This isn't exactly a giant revelation. This isn't news to anybody. But I noticed that there's a particular president that you're omitting from this critique. I have no idea why that could be.
Do you know how the Antichrist persecutes and imprisons Christians? He has to work peaceably first by saying, I'm a Christian like you. I personally received Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior.
No, I'm fairly certain that in the story of Revelation, the Antichrist will call himself the Almighty God. He's not going to tell people that he's a Christian. I don't think that's actually part of the story. You're literally just making shit up. Unless, of course, I'm wrong. But I took a couple classes on Revelation, and last I checked, that wasn't what I was taught.
That's what the Antichrist will do. He has to deceive you first.
Holy shit, your audio quality improved.
That he's on your side. And once he gets in office, then that's when hell's going to break loose. Look at Daniel chapter 11. Look at verse 21. And in his estate shall stand up a vile person. That's the Antichrist. To whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom, but he shall come in what? Peaceably. See?
Yes, this is a thing that most political leaders understand is a good thing to do. It's easier to win support through using democratic procedure than trying to instigate some type of coup. This is why democracy is the absolute worst political system available, except for every other political system we've ever conceived. Brownie points if you can tell me where that quote derives from in the comment section.
And obtain the kingdom, I'm going to win the vote and the presidency by what? Flatteries. Look at that.
Yeah, again, literally every politician ever has done that. Politicians lie. Politicians suck up to the people who can pay for their campaigns. This isn't news. None of this is news. Moreover, why are we looking at this irrelevant shit in Daniel when you have Bill 99 behind you on a billboard?
But look at this. And with the arms of a flood shall they be overflown from before him, and shall be broken. Yea, also the prince of the what? Covenant. You ever heard these promises and covenants that these politicians make? I promise, I make a covenant with you. Blah, 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 blah. Nothing surprises me.
And I'm not surprised that you haven't gotten to the point yet, but I'm going to take this time to try to fast forward in your video to see if I can get to the point where you make a point.
And that's the scary thing about this scary world. Now let's look at Revelation chapter 13, please. We're going to look at Revelation chapter 13.
But why? Why have we not talked about the first thing you wrote on the board? Why is the first thing you wrote on the board a problem, Gene Kim? You want to fearmonger about Bill 99, but why? What is in Bill 99 that you hold issue with? Moreover, your sermon is about the end of all churches. How is Bill 99, stopping gay conversion therapy, going to lead to the end of all churches? Note, there are states where conversion therapy is banned. California is actually one of them. It's been banned there since 2013. Those states still have churches, but I need you to connect the dots for me. There's obviously some conspiracy theory that I'm not getting that I need you to tell me about.
Here's another thing that I'm going to tell you, which is pretty interesting to me. What you've got to understand is that people, when they voted for Trump, think about this. How did Trump become president? Now, I know that, we can go into concerning about elites and conspiracies, etc., but let's forget all of that for now.
Then why bring any of it up? You're already going to delve into conspiracy theory. Why would you bring up other conspiracy theories?
Let's look at a public worldview point. The public worldview point, what they argue how Trump became president, is because they were angry. That's why new parties came out within the Republican side, such as more of the Independence Tea Party, etc., etc. Why? Because of Obama. So a lot of the people who were doing the statistics they were questioning how he became president is because of a lot of anger and frustration.
Not as frustrated as I am getting right now, Gene Kim. What does the election of Trump have to do with any of this?
Not only that, you got to realize this. It's not just anger, but also the information that's spreading all over on the web. What really killed it for Hillary concerning a public world viewpoint was because of her sneaky little things concerning her contacts, her emails, and etc. This is why what happened after that Facebook, YouTube, and all social media start to crack down on what they call fake news. That's what they like to call it. Now, what's really funny is that the mainstream news media themselves, you'd be surprised how much of them is fake news themselves anyways.
So, you know that the fake news thing was popularized by Trump, and it was when he was talking about major news outlets, like actual mainstream media? I feel like there's some revisionist history going on here.
But let's skip all of this, okay? Even if I'm going to... Look, I don't deny online, you're going to see, whether you believe it or not all conspiracies are true. So I'm going to be fair. Yes, there is fake news out there too.
Well, you're certainly right about that. Your channel does exist.
Okay, but guess what? That doesn't what was I about to say? That doesn't make the mainstream media scot-free either. What? So then just because you see news online that is fake, this makes CNN must be true? This makes all these other liberal news media must be true?
Nope. That's not what any of that means. But if I were to go ahead and use your logic, which I'd like to right now, we can go ahead and apply this to Fox News as well. Fox News has a very strong history of poor sourcing for their media. So just like how you didn't include Trump when you were talking about issues with the presidents and their votes, so too are you not talking about Fox News because you want to use your biblical platform to own the libs. What is this, 2016?
No, this is an undoubtable fact. Any news information out there, you're going to find something fake. Okay? Sorry. Boo-hoo. So the thing is this, is that because of these 2 points right here, this is very scary. As we get to as we come to the next coming years concerning on elections, what do you think these Democrats and liberals are doing? I'll tell you one thing. They're more angry. They're more angry than us because we can behave ourselves.
You will not replace us! You will not replace us!
Yeah, I don't know about that.
The liberals and Democrats, they go nuts. San Francisco, as soon as Trump became president, you know what the women did? Trump does not respect women's body while they're wearing costumes of women's sex organs.
Okay, But if I were to say the same thing dressed in a clown suit, that wouldn't mean anything. You're literally committing ad hominem right now. The ad hominem fallacy is when the truth value of a statement is derived from the aesthetics of the person, whether it be how they look or how they speak or whatever insulting term you'd like to use. When you claim that the truthfulness of any proposition that they make is based on their aesthetic, you are committing an ad hominem fallacy. But I guess that's not exactly new for you.
You don't have this kind of information anywhere going free anymore. We've heard about Alex Jones being kicked out and then a lot of other stuff being censored and kicked out.
Okay, but he wasn't censored. He was deplatformed. So let's talk about Alex Jones real quick, because his show is still alive and well. It's just alive and well on BitChute now instead of anywhere else. Alex Jones used dehumanizing language to describe people who are transgender, Muslims, and immigrants. That language violated the terms of service that Alex Jones signed up for. That was in the terms of service that he signed for on Apple. That was the terms of service he signed for on Facebook. That was the TOS that he signed for YouTube. His videos and podcasts release on all of those platforms. And it wasn't just one instance of this. YouTube has actually been very forward with telling people that Alex Jones repeatedly violated their policies. This included their policies on harassment. Now, if any of these platforms were public works, then we could argue about whether or not taking Alex Jones off the platforms had any merit. But as it is, they're owned by private organizations. If you have a problem with privatization of these organizations, then you have a beef with capitalism. Have fun and fight that battle. One of the things Alex Jones did to violate these bits of terms of service was harassing the families of Sandy Hook's victims, badgering grieving parents for death certificates. This is abuse, and it's a bullying tactic, and it's one he engaged in publicly. As a result, no shit he was deplatformed. Besides, we actually have evidence that things that he has said have directly led to a lot of harm. Like when he tried to argue that Pizzagate was a real thing, promotion of this conspiracy theory directly led to a gunman getting incited, feeling like he had to fight a bunch of pedophiles that didn't exist. He's been sentenced to 4 years in prison, but the point still stands that speech leads to action. This is like a fundamental baseline of marketing, speech leading to action. And when your speech is directly leading to a lot of harm, and that harm falls within the terms of service of your platform, then no fucking shit, you're going to get in trouble with your platform.
So what happens with this kind of information where people aren't notified anymore?
You're gonna have to come up with a better example than Alex Jones.
Because nobody's putting chemicals in the water trying to turn the frickin' Christians gay!
Just so you're aware.
What are you gonna do? With this one gone, and a lot of onliners, they became saved, they discovered the truth because of information online, right? Because of that freedom putting out information.
And that's freedom you still have to do. You can get people saved and get them to become Christians without trying to talk about gay conversion therapy. Here's a newsflash for you, Kim. Gay Christians exist.
I don't know if you're familiar who pushed this bill. It's some so-and-so blankety blank here at the city of San Jose.
Wow, you're so well informed. You have the ability to write notes on your sermon, and yet you didn't include the name of the person pushing the legislation that your sermon is about. I feel so compelled to listen to what you have to say. I am convinced that you will be incredibly informative due to your track record currently of being factually accurate and holistic with your information.
So our church is pretty much in trouble, you gotta understand.
Is it, though? I mean, if your church is constantly trying to engage in gay conversion therapy, then maybe, but there's a quick fix to that. Stop trying to abuse children. Problem solved. If your church desperately needs child abuse in order to stay erect, then mayhap you're pursuing the wrong career.
So, the thing is that this is where we're heading toward, and it has to happen because it's fulfilling prophecy. That's what the Bible says.
Yes, I remember. Let me open up my Bible Black real quick and take a look at Ecclesiasticals 25:69, wherein the great Senate Palpatine and Dolan Tramp will outlaw the gay conversion therapy and thus bring about the apocalypse. I had completely forgotten about that passage. Thank you for reminding me, Gene Kim.
These hate speech people, hate mongers, fundamentalists. You hear this term often? It's enough to make you sick. It's enough to make you sick. Now what's even more dangerous is that they are saying this is a typical King James only fundamentalist group of people.
Well, let's see. When the people who are promoting your King James only movement who speak the loudest are people like Kent Hovind, Ken Ham, and Steven Anderson, then I would argue that if you don't want to have that stigma of hatred attached to your name, maybe do something about the people in your group that are promoting that stigma. Hell, the school that I grew up in was part of that movement. I can look at the KJV-only promotions page on Wikipedia, and the first thing I notice is that Pensacola Christian College is one of the features on the list. And I came out of that school a homophobe. I came out of that school being taught that if a girl was raped, that was actually the will of the Lord. So maybe, if you don't want that stigma of hatred, then do something about that. Besides, let's be honest. Any biblical scholar worth their salt will tell you all of the issues with being a King James-only Christian. When your version of the Bible is based off of Greek documents only 100 years older than it, and it was fricking penned in 1611, I would say the chance of it being perfectly accurate to the original transcriptions written down thousands of years ago is pretty fricking slim.
That's what they're doing now. And we're King James-only people.
And you're sitting here trying to argue that you should be able to engage in gay conversion therapy. Or at least that's what I think you're doing, because you're bitching about Bill 99, which is about that. If that's the case, it's like shooting somebody and then getting mad that people are calling you a shooter. If you don't want the label, don't engage in the action.
So this is becoming even more dangerous. So Satan has raised up wicked champions in his day and age to mess up the King James only crowd with this heretical, weird, cultic fringe that they like to call themselves New IFB. It is so wicked, it is so messed up that Satan has used these people to pave the way where these people now have got an excuse.
Holy shit. I can't believe we actually agree on something. I'm honestly impressed. I'm happy that Gene Kim, even though I have millions of disagreements with him, managed to actually give criticism to the NIFB, and he accurately described them as a heretical cult. Like, I'll be honest, I have to give credit where it's due, and right here, it's most certainly due. Thank you. We need more Christians speaking out against the NIFB. All of my criticism that I've levied before still stands, but I did say that if you wanted that label to not be applied to you, then maybe do something about the hateful people in your movement, and here you are, doing something about it by telling your congregation that you find them to be detestable. So, Gene Kim, if you're watching this video, thank you. Sincerely, I'm not being sarcastic here. There's another 2 minutes left in your video, but I think I'm going to actually leave it on this positive note. I have seen the entire video, and you don't actually get into anything about Bill 99, but you do end with the message of leading by example, and that is at least something I can respect. Everything else I've said still stands, and everything I've said about you in the past still stands. But for this couple of things, I'm actually kind of happy. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section, and let me know by hitting the like button down below. If you want to support what I do, the best things you can do is sending the video to your friends, that's a free way to do it, or checking over on my Patreon and maybe dropping a few dollars in the bucket over there. That all said, thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys later. Insert end of video tagline here.